evening. Tonight I'd like to welcome everyone to the open agenda meeting of the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education, January 19, 2017. And this is Sarah Dackey is coming this way, and she's going to call the roll for us.
Mrs. Soriani? Here. Mrs. Winkler? Here. Mrs. Cleary? Here. Mrs. Allen? Here. Quorum is present. Thank you.
Please join us in the salute. The board met in executive session and discussed personnel issues, suspensions and detentions, and legal issues. And normally on our agenda, we have an opportunity for the public to come and speak, but we're going to skip that. We will do that when we adjourn to the other room, so if anyone wants to come and speak to the board, you're certainly welcome. But tonight's a very exciting evening. We look forward to this evening, and we want to get on with the festivities, so we're going to turn it over to Dr. Hayes. Thank you so much.
Welcome, everybody. Tonight is a very special evening as we honor 17 of our educators for being the recipients of awards for outstanding service to our students and our school district. 15 are being honored through the Governor's Educator of the Year program for 2016-17, and 2 are the recipients of the 2016 New Jersey Exemplary Elementary Educator Award, sponsored by the New Jersey Department of Education. The Governor's Educator of the Year program highlights contributions to educational innovation, student achievement, the teaching profession, and important services outside the classroom environment that lead to student success. Annually, each school has the opportunity to recognize a Teacher of the Year as well as an educational services professional. Tonight's recipients were selected by school-level committees based on nominations from parents, colleagues, and/or students. The 2016 Elementary Educator Recognition Program offered the district the opportunity to nominate a limited number of elementary educators. We are so pleased that our district's nominees have been recognized by the New Jersey Department of Education. In total, this special group of educators work closely with our students to create nurturing environments in which our students flourish and grow. They're motivated and challenged every day. These teachers and educational services professionals work closely with parents, and their outreach shows as we harmoniously bring together the relationship that best nurtures our students. As you will hear tonight, all of them have made many positive contributions to our students, as well as their colleagues and their school communities. Each is so well deserving of the honors that are being awarded this evening, and I offer my heartfelt appreciation to each and every one of them, because we know that the real work of the school district is done in the classroom, day in and day out. And that's where the heart of our district is. And our teachers, all of them, are exemplary in that regard. So my humble thanks to each and every one of you. It's a thrill to be able to recognize you in front of parents, friends, colleagues, husbands, wives, all who are assembled here this evening. And with that, we're going to get started. So, at this time, I would like to call up Mr. Scott Fortney, the principal of Brother School, and Susan Fortney.
Good evening, everybody. Thank you to the Board of Ed, thank you Dr. Hayes, thank you all for coming. It's a great night to celebrate some really wonderful educators. I have the nominations that were submitted for the 2 recipients at Brunner School. I'm just going to read you a couple of statements that I thought were really poignant about Donna Lauricella and Colleen Fay. Starting with Donna and Colleen, if you could join me up here, please. We're all good rule followers. Donna's a first grade teacher at Brunner. She was the Brunner Governor's Educator of the Year Award recipient. Just some, like I said, some excerpts from the nomination that came in for Donna. Donna Lauricella is a teacher one hopes for their child to experience. The parent went on to write, something about Donna Lauricella's firm but warm tone and approach got my son's attention on day 1, and she never lost it. I agree with that as an adult who also responds well to Donna's The parent went on to write, math comes easy to my son, which is lucky because as older parents, we couldn't always direct him in the way of doing things that were different from what we've learned. Mrs. Lauricella mentored us too. So congratulations, Donna. Colleen Fay is an award recipient as an education support personnel. As the nomination form stated, the definition of an aid is to provide with what is useful or necessary in achieving an end. Mrs. Fay is gifted in knowing not only what supports to provide, but sometimes more importantly, what not to provide, when to hold back and let students be more independent, even if it causes the students some discomfort. Especially with students who have special needs, the line to draw is a fine one, and Mrs. Fay knows exactly where to draw it. Congratulations, Colleen.
I get to read the resolutions. First for Mrs. Lauricella. Whereas Donna Lauricella, a tenured teacher in Scotch Plains Family Schools, is Brunner's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award, and whereas Mrs. Lauricella is a highly skilled first grade teacher who has created a nurturing environment for her students, whereby each child has the opportunity to flourish and grow. And whereas Mrs. Lauricella's passion for literature enables her to work with young readers who instill a love of reading in them. Mrs. Lauricella has an amazing talent for making a read aloud engaging and entertaining for children and adults. And whereas Mrs. Lauricella's compassion for teaching enables her to make every student feel good about themselves as she creates a learning environment that is fun and inviting. Whereas Mrs. Lauricella is a creative and caring educator who has earned the respect and admiration of her students and their parents, her colleagues, and her principal for her unselfish commitment to her students. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Donna Lauricella for being honored as Brunner's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award and extends to her best wishes for her continued success. Whereas Colleen Fay has been named Brunner School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award, and whereas Mrs. Fay conducts herself with professionalism and integrity, and she embraces her role as an instructional aide every day with a positive attitude. And whereas Mrs. Fay has an infinite amount of patience and always treats students and staff with kindness. Mrs. Fay independently identifies students' needs and provides just the right guidance in respectful and quiet way. And whereas Mrs. Spfboe is a creative and caring aide who has earned the respect and admiration of her students, their families, the front of school faculty, her colleagues, and her principal for her unselfish commitment to her students and the district. Now therefore, be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Colleen Ray Bay for being honored as Bronze recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award, and extends to her all best wishes for her continued success.
We'd love to shake your hands.
And now at this time, I would like to call up Dr. Karen Levenall and principal of Coles Elementary School and Amy Winkler, board member.
Good evening. First of all, congratulations to all the educators here tonight. It's a very impressive group. I'd like to call up the judges, our Teacher of the Year, and Barbara Danker, our Ed Services Professional of the Year, the humble person I've ever met. Start with Caitlin, fourth grade teacher, an excerpt from one of the nominations. The most striking thing you notice about this fourth grade classroom is the sense of community that has been developed. There is an ease and flow within the small community that is truly the result of an engaged and thoughtful teacher with a finger on the pulse of what is fun, engaging, and educational for the children. And Barbara Jensen. Barbara has the ability to reach students with her insight, patience, and compassion. She provides instructional support to students and enhances lessons with her diverse knowledge. Barbara is a professional who works in our school community to make it a better place. Congratulations to both of you.
Whereas Caitlin Judges, a tenured teacher in the Scotch Plains Family Public Schools, is full schools recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educator of the Year Award. And whereas Ms. Judges is a highly skilled fourth grade teacher who has excellent classroom management skills and has created a nurturing environment for her students whereby each child has the opportunity to flourish and grow. And whereas Ms. Judges infuses technology into her classroom instruction and engages students in learning, and whereas Ms. Judges maintains excellent communication between parents and teacher, and whereas Ms. Judges is a creative and caring teacher who has earned the respect and admiration of her students and their parents, her colleagues and her principal, for her unselfish commitment to her students and the district, now therefore be it resolved, the Scotch Plains Family Board of Ed recognizes and commends Caitlin Judges for being honored as the Full Schools recipient of the 2016-17 Governor of the Year Award and extends to her best wishes for her continued success. Whereas Barbara Denker has been named Cole Schools recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award, and whereas Ms. Denker is an instructional aide who does a remarkable job of supporting students throughout the day. Mrs. Denker has an amazing work ethic and is dedicated and committed to the students and staff at Cole School. And whereas Mrs. Denker independently identifies students' needs and provides just the right amount of guidance in a respectful and quiet way. And whereas Mrs. Denker is always helpful and willing to lend a hand, she goes above and beyond what is expected of her every day. And whereas Mrs. Denker is a beloved and caring instructional aide who has earned the respect and admiration of her students and their parents, her colleagues, and her principal for her unselfish commitment to her students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Ed recognizes and commends Barbara Denker for being honored as a Full Schools recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award and extends to her all best wishes for her continued success.
Now at this time, I would like to call forward Colin Howard, principal of Evergreen Elementary School, and Nancy Allen, board president.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes, and good evening, everyone. And again, I would like to echo the congratulations to all our honorees. This is a wonderful celebration of all that you do each day for our children. It's a happy privilege for me to be able to say some brief words of introduction about our Evergreen School honorees, and I'd like to bring up Mrs. Terry Keller and Mr. Dubowski. Share one of the applicants from Jennifer Dabrowski's nomination for Educator of the Year that stood out. Ms. Dabrowski's ability to provide differentiated instruction was praised and acknowledged as something that teachers strive for, but in real life can be difficult to implement consistently for each student. She believes that education is a team effort and keeps parents informed and involved through her frequent communications and sharing of what is happening in the classroom. So thank you, Jennifer. And now I'm happy to share some elements from Terry Keller's nomination for Educational Services Professional of the Year that stood out for all of us. Mrs. Keller has accomplished her goal of making the media center the heart and hub of the school. It is a warm, welcoming, encouraging place both for students and staff. And as new standards and learning approaches have been introduced, Mrs. Keller has been a leader in helping fellow teachers with guidance and resources to become competent in these new demands. Thank you both for all that you do for us.
So whereas Jennifer Dabrowski, a tenured teacher in the Scotch Plains Family Public Schools, is Evergreen's school recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Education of the Year Award. Whereas Ms. Dabrowski is a highly skilled third grade teacher who creates an incredible learning environment in her classroom and where her students are motivated and challenged every day. And whereas Ms. Dabrowski draws on her attention to detail and insights about teaching and learning to individualize learning experiences in a personal way for each student. Whereas Ms. Dabrowski has the ability to remain calm and positive in any situation that may arise, not only in her classroom, but in any of her colleagues' classrooms. And whereas Ms. Dabrowski is a creative and caring educator who has earned the respect and admiration of her students, their families, her colleagues, and her principal for her unselfish commitment to her students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Jennifer Dabrowski for being honored as Evergreen School's recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educator of the Year Award and extends to her all best wishes for continued success. recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award. And whereas through Mrs. Keller's leadership as Evergreen School's media specialist, Evergreen's Media Center has become the hub of the school. Mrs. Keller touches the learning lives of all students and faculty. And whereas Mrs. Keller's skill in selecting books that appeal to all students has resulted in the creation of an inviting and comfortable media center. Mrs. Keller communicates and plans common learning goals with teachers. And whereas Mrs. Keller is a teacher leader as new standards and instructional approaches have been introduced. And whereas Mrs. Keller is a positive presence in Evergreen School, and as such she has earned the respect and admiration of her students, her colleagues, and her principal for her unselfish commitment to her students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Terry Keller for being honored as Evergreen School's recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award and extends to her best wishes for her continued success.
This way.
I would like to call up Dr. Spfboe, principal of Begin School, and Stephanie Suriani, board.
Thank you, and congratulations to all our recipients this evening, and thank you to colleagues and friends and family members for coming out to support these wonderful people. I have the pleasure of honoring two of the kindest people in the whole world, honestly. So, with Gene Swartz and John Moon, please. Their nominations said many wonderful things about them, but they truly are, anybody who knows them knows they are just the warmest people you can imagine. One thing that stood out about Jean Swartz, a wonderful second grade teacher at McGinn School, is that she provides individual attention for each child for every possible need by finding out what each child cares about and by establishing excellent rapport with each one. And that is, there were many examples of how she has touched individual children in her recommendation. And Mr. Long, our media specialist, there were also many things, but this really stood out for him and is timely. He ensures the students know the library door is always open to them when they are feeling overwhelmed and just need a quiet place. We recently had new doors installed in the library, and I thought he was going to have a heart attack because they can't be propped open. And he was so upset that he bought a huge sign that says open for the library. That's the purpose. Congratulations.
Tenured teacher in Scotch Plains Family Public Schools, is McGinn School recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educator of the Year Award. And whereas Jean Swartz is a highly skilled second grade teacher who has created a nurturing environment for her students, whereby each child has the opportunity to flourish and grow. And whereas Mrs. Swartz maintains an organized, child-centered, and structured classroom where she provides her students with the knowledge, tools, and motivation they need to be successful students and young people. And whereas Jean Swartz demonstrates a caring and positive attitude for every student, she provides individual attention to each child as she takes the time to learn what each child cares about and thereby establishes an excellent rapport with each student. And whereas Mrs. Schwartz uses technology to encourage and challenge young learners, Mrs. Schwartz demonstrates leadership and commitment to her students and their education, and she is always ready to assist and learn from her colleagues. And whereas Mrs. Schwartz is a creative and caring educator who has earned the respect and admiration of her students, their families, her colleagues, and her principal for her unselfish commitment to her students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Jean Schwartz for being honored as McGinn's School Recipient 2016-17 Governor's Educator of the Year Award and extends to her all best wishes for her continued success. Whereas John Lone, a tenured media specialist, has been named McGinn School's recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educational Service Professional of the Year Award. And whereas Mr. Lone positively impacts and supports every student and staff member at McGinn School. Mr. Lone willingly adjusts his schedule to cover a class, volunteers for lunch duty, give assistance to the principal, teachers, and students during testing, and supports teachers in the classroom with technology to enhance their lessons. And whereas Mr. Lone encourages students to explore different areas of the library by recommending books for them to read, and whereas Mr. Lone ensures the students know the library door is always open to them when they are feeling overwhelmed and just need a quiet place. He goes above and beyond to encourage student success, and whereas Mr. Lone puts his whole being into making not only the media center but also McGinn School a better place for the children and the staff it serves. And whereas Mr. Lone is a creative and caring media specialist who has earned the respect and admiration of his students, their families, his colleagues, and his principal for his unselfish commitment to his students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends John Lone for being honored as McGinn School's recipient of the 2016-17 Governor's Educational Service Professional of the Year Award and extends to him all best wishes for his continued success.
I'd like to echo what my colleagues said before me, congratulate all the educators here tonight. I'd like to call out two of the most amazing, well-respected educators I've had the privilege of working with, Ms. Jackie Duffy and Ms. Rosemary Bianco. So I'll start out by saying the two of them are so humble that they were shocked when they were chosen, and they were clearly the easiest choice for our staff this year. One of the quotes from one of the nominations from Mrs. Duffy was, "Even in the years before she was my daughter's teacher, I was always impressed with her. You can see she cares about School One, the students, administration, co-workers, and parents. She is by far the most involved teacher I've ever met." And one of the quotes from Rosemary Bianco's nomination, which shows the type of person she is countless times a special book may appear for a child who may not have had money to visit the book fair, or lunch money may show up in a student's negative balance, just in time for pizza day. Once her student, always her student. Congratulations to you both.
Whereas Jacqueline Duffy is a tenured teacher in the Scotch Plains Family Public Schools, is School One's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award. And whereas Mrs. Duffy is a highly skilled third grade teacher who has created a nurturing environment for her students whereby each child has the opportunity to flourish and grow. Mrs. Duffy goes to great lengths to help students with any issues that they may always have to go above and beyond to help her students. And whereas Mrs. Duffy is encouraging, inspiring, and a qualified educator who cares about School 1 and its students, its teachers, its parents, and administrators. And whereas Mrs. Duffy is a creative and caring educator who has earned the respect and admiration of her students, their families, her colleagues, her principal, for her unselfish commitment to her students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Jacqueline Duffy for being honored as School 1's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award and extends to her all best wishes for her continued success. Congratulations. Whereas Rosemary Bianco has been named School 1's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year, and whereas Mrs. Bianco is an instructional aide who does a remarkable job of supporting students throughout the day. She has an expertise in the field of special education and works collaboratively with others. And whereas Mrs. Bianco is sought out by her colleagues because she is someone who everyone enjoys working with. Mrs. Bianco has an infinite amount of patience and always treats her students and staff with kindness. Whereas Mrs. Bianco is a creative and caring aide who has earned the respect and admiration for her students, of the families, and the School 1 faculty, her colleagues, her principal, for her unselfish commitment to the students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Rosemary Bianco for being honored School 1's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year and extends to her all best wishes for continued success. Congratulations. And now at this time, I would like to call up Dr. Jocelyn Duras, Principal of Parkland School, and Jean Cleary, our Board Vice President.
Hi, good evening. I'd like to first extend my congratulations to all of the honorees tonight. I would like to now call up Ms. Lauren Rugland, our LBTC, who's being nominated tonight, and Mr. Alex Hofer, a social studies teacher at Park. I'll share first a brief excerpt from Alex Hofer's nomination, and this is from a parent. It's some of my favorite words about Mr. Hofer. My daughter always thought about social studies as a bearable subject until Mr. Hofer came along. Mr. Hofer completely transformed her view of the world by making critical issues come alive. Thanks to Mr. Hofer, my daughter has become very motivated and energized to become a global policy expert and/or a journalist. He is truly connected with his students and treats his students and parents with a great deal of kindness and respect. He has become a modern-day legend. And now Ms. Ragland. For those of you in the audience who don't know, LDTC stands for Learning Disabilities Teacher Consultant, and she is a critical part of our child study team who makes important recommendations for our special education program and its students. And this is from one of her colleagues. From the day I began working with Ms. Ragland, I have had full confidence in her knowing the needs of each student on her caseload, each parent and family connected to an individual child, and how to positively influence the child's team of teachers to provide an outstanding education while also knowing the strengths and challenges of the individual. And if you know anything about Lauren, she is incredibly insightful and detail-oriented.
Whereas Alice Hooper, a tenured teacher in Scotch Plains Valley Public Schools, is Park Middle School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award. And whereas Mr. Hooper is a highly skilled social studies teacher who creates a rigorous learning environment in his classroom where his students are motivated, challenged, and engaged every day. And whereas Mr. Hooper supports each student in an individualized and differentiated way, he demonstrates a caring and positive attitude for every student. Mr. Hooper is always ready to assist and learn from his colleagues, and whereas Mr. Hooper is a creative and caring educator who has earned the respect and admiration of his students, their families, his colleagues, and his principal for his unselfish commitment to his students in the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Alice Hooper for being honored as Park Middle School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award and extends to him all best wishes for his continued success. Whereas Lauren Rowland has been named Park Middle School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award. And whereas in her role as a learning disabilities teacher consultant, Ms. Rowland is highly intuitive, insightful, and innately knows what is best for individual students. Ms. Rowland works tirelessly to help meet the needs of struggling learners, and she is innovative in designing solutions to help support students. She is dedicated to ensuring each student's success. And whereas Ms. Rowland is detail-oriented and highly organized, and as such, she is a resource for her colleagues. She maintains excellent communication between parents and teachers. And whereas Ms. Rowland is a creative and caring teacher who has earned the respect and admiration of her students and their parents, her colleagues, and her principal for her unselfish commitment to her students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Lauren Rowland for being honored as Park Middle School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award and extends to her best wishes for her continued success.
Mr.
Gunther helps me with math all the time, and because of that, I ace my test. He finds ways to help make math understandable and enjoyable, and he's really funny.
Whereas Matthew Gunther has been named Carroll Middle School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award, and whereas Mr. Gunther creates an incredible learning environment in all of his mathematics classes where students feel safe and respected, and whereas Mr. Gunther is a student-centered and highly reflective educator whose care and compassion for students is evident in all that he does. Whereas Mr. Gunther's passion for teaching mathematics enables him to make every student feel good about themselves. Mr. Gunther is committed to improving students' excitement about mathematics. And whereas Mr. Gunther is a creative and caring educator who has earned the respect and admiration of his students, their families, his colleagues, and his principal for his unselfish commitment to his students in the district. Now therefore be it resolved, the Scottsboro County Board of Education recognizes and commends Matthew Gunther, being honored as Carroll Middle School recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award, and extends him all the best wishes for his continued success.
At this time, I would like to call up Dr. David Heisey, principal of Scotch Plains Family High School, and Deborah Brody, board member.
Thank you, Dr. Hayes, and congratulations to everyone this evening. It's my honor to call up Michael Abadier, our teacher of the year. And Jane Moser, our educational service professional of the year, named as school counselor. So as tradition has it, we'll read some excerpts from the nominations. We'll start with Mr. Abadier here. I see Mr. Abadier every day, and he emits a positive energy in our building with a smile on his face and always on the move. Very true. Through his everyday interactions with students and staff, it is clear that Mr. Abadier is passionate about many things in life. But we focus tonight on the passion he has for his profession and his role as a chemistry teacher. Michael Abadier. Now to Amanda Moser, school counselor at the high school. Again, excerpts from the nomination. Her empathy for others is one of her greatest attributes. I sometimes think that Amanda Moser has been paving the path that has naturally led her to the role of school counselor at her alma mater, Scotch Plains Family High School. She is a natural fit for sure. Amanda Moser.
Whereas Michael Abadier, attending teacher in the Scotch Plains Family Public Schools, the Scotch Plains Family High School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award. And whereas Mr. Abadier is a student-centered chemistry educator who has the ability to make complex concepts easy to understand for all students, and whereas Mr. Abadier's high level of energy and his positive can-do attitude excites every student that he works with and builds the students' belief in themselves and their love of learning, and whereas Mr. Abadier is an outstanding role model for all students, and whereas Mr. Abadier is a creative and caring educator who has earned the respect and admiration of his students, their families, his colleagues, and his principal for his unselfish commitment to his students and the district. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Michael Abadier for being honored as Scotch Plains Family High School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educator of the Year Award and extends to him all the best wishes for his continued success.
And whereas in her role as high school guidance counselor, Amanda Moser is innovative and a forward thinker and has improved the culture of the high school in her role as a counselor, class advisor, and a student government association advisor. And whereas Mrs. Moser is a strong advocate for the counseling department and more importantly for students. Mrs. Moser is passionate about each one of her students. And whereas Mrs. Moser is an outstanding listener and empathetic toward everyone that walks into her office. Mrs. Moser welcomes students and families into her office with a positive approach as well as guidance for attainable goals. And whereas Mrs. Moser is a positive presence in the high school, and as such she has earned the respect and admiration of her students, their families, her colleagues, and her principal for her unselfish commitment to her students in the district. Now, therefore, be resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Amanda Moser for being honored as Scotch Plains Family High School's recipient of the 2016-2017 Governor's Educational Services Professional of the Year Award and extends to her the best wishes for her continued success.
And now for our 2016 New Jersey Elementary Exemplary Educator Awards, I would like to call forward Courtney Nemeth and Dr. Sasha Sloan. So these awards were very, very tricky because we had to put together the award packet without either of these ladies knowing we were doing it. If you think it's easy to wrestle resumes out of them and not tell them what they're for, it was certainly not because we wanted them applying anywhere else. And so with that, we were able to pull that off pretty successfully, and then the state did notify us late in the winter that these teachers were going to be recognized. We then had the privilege of surprising them in their buildings. We arrived in Courtney Nemeth's classroom, the last period of the day, and there was a group of administrators who came in, and the kids were just so thrilled to hear that their teacher was a rock star. We equally surprised Dr. Slocum. Dr. Slocum was doing the unconference meeting format for her faculty meeting. She was charting new territory. This was an experiment, and she did not need the superintendent and the assistant superintendent walking in at that particular point. But nevertheless, gracious as she always is, we sat there, we observed the teachers, we poked around, and then at the very end, when she was ready to let everybody go, we said, not so fast. And we were able to surprise Sasha in front of her faculty, who were genuinely proud of their principal. It was so heartwarming to see the support that these teachers have from their colleagues and their students alike. And with that, I would like to call up Nancy Bauer, who is going to read a resolution on behalf of Courtney Nemeth.
Whereas Courtney Nemeth, a fifth grade teacher at Park Middle School, has been selected by the New Jersey Department of Education as a recipient of the 2016 New Jersey Exemplary Elementary Educator Award. And whereas Ms. Nemeth exhibits all the qualities of an excellent educator, she is innovative, reflective, creative, and flexible. Her deep understanding of how children learn is exemplified by the rich and meaningful tasks she engages her students in. whether they are participating in collaborative discussions, completing differentiated tasks, or working through a problem-based task. Ms. Nimick's students are provided with the appropriate scaffolding and support to reach the highest levels of achievement. Whereas Ms. Nimick is a highly skilled teacher who has created a nurturing environment for her students, whereby each child has the opportunity to flourish and grow. And whereas Ms. Nimick is a creative and caring educator who is valued by her school and community, she has exhibited strong knowledge and skills and is an inspiring presence. She is someone who has a clear vision for quality, teaching, and learning. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Courtney Nimick for being selected by the New Jersey Department of Education as a recipient of the 2016 New Jersey Exemplary Elementary Educator Award and extends to her best wishes for her continued success.
I've known Dr. Spfboe now for many years. I worked with her when she was on the Board of Education. I was thoroughly delighted when she applied to be an elementary principal in our district, and we continue to be enriched every day that you are with us. So it's my honor to read this resolution on your behalf. Whereas Dr. Sasha Spfboe, principal of Begin School, has been selected by the New Jersey Department of Education as the recipient of the 2016 New Jersey Exemplary Elementary Educator Award. And whereas Dr. Spfboe is an avid learner, an educator who is innately inquisitive and continuously reflects on improving educational outcomes for all students. Dr. Spfboe works tirelessly on behalf of all of her students. And whereas Dr. Spfboe possesses a deep knowledge of effective instructional practices and skillfully collaborates with McGinn's teachers, staff, and parents, Dr. Spfboe empowers amazing work with children, both within the instructional program and through school-wide enrichment opportunities. And whereas Dr. Spfboe is an engaging and inspiring presence that motivates and impacts students, colleagues, and the community. And whereas Dr. Spfboe's contributions to education are largely unheralded, yet worthy of the spotlight. And whereas Dr. Spfboe is a creative and caring educator who is valued by her school and the community. She has exhibited strong knowledge and skills. She is an inspiring presence and possesses a clear vision for quality teaching and learning. Now therefore be it resolved that the Scotch Plains Family Board of Education recognizes and commends Dr. Sasha Spfboe for being selected by the New Jersey Department of Education as the recipient of the 2016 New Jersey Elementary Educator of the Year and extends to her best wishes for her continued success.
So we've had a number of motions tonight, but to make them official, we need a second. Okay. All those in favor? Aye. I know there's no one opposed, so congratulations again to everyone this evening. And it was on film, so if there was somebody, it's being filmed. If there's somebody who wasn't here this evening,
You can tape it at home, and they have a chance to see your special person being recognized this evening. So we're going to have a short break, opportunity for refreshments, and a chance to visit, and then we will be reconvening in the other room in case you decide you want to join us. Congratulations.
We're continuing with the open agenda meeting for January 19th, 2017, Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools. Earlier this evening, we met in executive session, and we just had the pleasure of recognizing the Governor's Educator of the Year Awards. So if you are just now tuning in, watch the whole thing when this meeting reappears so that you can see the teachers and professional staff being recognized. So now we have the opportunity, in accordance with Scotch Plains Fanwood Public Schools bylaws 164 and 165, for anyone wishing to speak to the press to come to the microphone. And seeing no one, we're going to move ahead with committee reports. And I know we have a couple who would like to go first. Mr. Murray?
So I have a report for the Facilities Committee that should be brief. So regarding the Park Middle School parking lot project, so construction's complete, it's been paved and curbing is in. I believe the spots are lined as well. The following remaining items: space numbering, fencing around a lot, and the detention basin plantings will need to be done in the spring. And then there was two other items which we were discussing, looking to move approximately $6 million out of the capital reserve to complete somewhere around 13 projects, give or take, in the districts this year, as well as $1.5 million out of maintenance reserve to complete approximately 9 projects around the district in the school year. So we're looking to move those forward to ensure we have the funds available to complete the necessary projects that are on the list. And that completes the facilities report.
Okay, are there any questions for Mr. Murray? I know the individual projects were listed in the report, I believe, or else in the on the they're also on the agenda.
They're on the agenda. I would just pick up for finance from that just so you know, if any of those projects, if we go ahead with those, we will approve them. They haven't been, they would have to come before the board. They're not approved projects. They are possible projects.
They were projects that were planned but have not yet been approved, final approval. Okay, did you have anything else from finance?
Well, we
Dr.
we agreed with Mrs. Saradaki's decision to ask the board to transfer the money out of capital reserve to cover those school projects and also out of the maintenance account. And as Mr. Murray said, out of the capital account, it's $6,140,503. And again, these are for projects that we may move forward with so that we can be ready to do that. And for the maintenance reserve account, it's $1,500,000. And Mrs. Saradaki will also be asking us to approve the change orders, construction change order, and that is actually Spfboe. And that was for work that was done at Park Middle, School 1, and also Park Middle. So again, we, as a committee, supported her on these items. And that's it.
So they have the committee's recommendation?
Yes, they have the committee's recommendation.
Okay, any questions for finance? All right, any other committee reports? Mrs. Winkler?
I have a shared services report. The Shared Services Committee met on January 12th. We discussed several things, the renewal of the contract for Jersey Professional Management, who is the consultant that coordinates the Shared Services Committee. Both the Board of Ed and Scotch Plains had at that time already renewed the contract, and Fanwood was expected to renew it at their meeting the following week, which will be this week. So hopefully that's all said and done. We talked about the Safe Routes to Schools grant that Scotch Plains had applied for. They still have not heard back from the state about that. I think the state had put everything on hold for a while, so we're hoping sometime soon. Computer training for seniors, we were working in conjunction with specifically Rose Checchio from the Scotch Plains Council to coordinate classes for the senior citizens in the community who are eager to learn about use of technology. And so as we have quite a bit of technology and we have the classroom space and we have students who are willing to work sort of a 1-to-1 or 2-to-1 ratio with the seniors, we are coordinating it. These classes will likely begin in February. Hopefully.
Dr. Mass?
Okay. We talked a bit more about emergency management coordination between the three entities, as well as both the police departments. We do work pretty extensively with all of those groups. We've planned another date. Our next meeting in March is going to be we'll also invite the people from the Office of Emergency Management for both Scotch Plains and Fanwood to meet with us and coordinate, and all be on the same page about that. We did mention expansion of housing in Scotch Plains particularly, but also in Fanwood, and how additional families in the community could affect the school district. So we're hoping that both the communities will keep us apprised of what's happening with new building. And there was some discussion about expanding the police athletic league programs in the community. The police are interested in creating an intramural program for the middle school students, and we're looking forward to working with them to try to expand opportunities for our students.
Okay. Questions for shared services? I was just curious, I think it's wonderful that our students are going to be assisting senior citizens with the technology. Is this part of a service learning for clubs or part of a course, or?
I believe we're going to the National Honor Society for students who are looking for service opportunities.
Okay, thank you. Okay, any other committee reports? I think policy comes later, so. All right, then that brings us to you, Dr. Hayes.
Thank you. Tonight, I would ask that the board approve 1S, which is the adjustment to the out-of-district placements. We are adding bus aid for the remainder of the school year for the student as listed.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye. Thank you. 2S, at our next meeting, I will ask that the Board of Education affirm the superintendent's decisions in the 3 December HIB cases that were reported in executive session on December 15th and December 22nd. 3S, tonight, I would ask that the board approve the field trips that are listed on your agenda, as well as the one that's listed on the addendum. This would include the high school students in the 10th, 11th, and 12th grades going to the percussion ensemble Rhythm Sense at Time Warner Studios in Staten Island. High school students in Los Cantadores Men's Choir, Select Choir, and Chamber Choir going to Princeton University Chapel for a combined performance with the Bridgewater Raritan High School choirs on Saturday, January 28th. Students in the 7th grade Quest program visiting Google's New York
corporate office on March 8th. Yeah, it's not goggle. Thank you. And as they study in the Quest unit, this company and its unique work atmosphere, they are going to be thrilled to be able to visit it. And then finally, our Terrell Middle School 8th grade chorus students would like to attend Charlie and the Chocolate Factory at the Lunt-Fontanne Theater in New York on May 24th.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. 4S, at our next meeting, I will ask that the board approve the proposed school calendar for 2017-18. For those in the viewing audience, the calendar is posted on the website. We did discuss it at our last meeting, and there's only one version of the calendar this year.
Exciting.
It is. 5S, at our next meeting, I would ask that the board approve additional offerings for our creative summer workshop. These will help enrich the opportunities for students this summer. And 6S, at our next meeting, I would ask that the board acknowledge that the New Jersey Department of Education has approved our school's self-assessments for determining the individual school grades as well as the district grade for, under the Anti-Bullying Bill of Rights. Annually, we have to do self-assessments in each of our schools. Kaylin Taggart presented this information to you last fall. We did submit it to the State Department, and they have approved our self-assessments with no changes.
Wonderful.
And then tonight, I would ask that the board approve the personnel agenda as discussed in exec this evening.
So moved.
Second.
Mrs. Saradaki, would you please call the roll?
Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes.
Mrs. Winkler?
Yes.
Mrs. Brody?
Yes.
Dr. Clancy?
Yes.
Mr. Murray?
Yes.
Mrs. Suriani?
Yes.
She hasn't updated my voting sheet. Mrs. Cleary?
Yes.
Mrs. Bauer?
Yes.
Thank you, and that concludes my report.
Okay, Mrs. Saradaki, that brings us to the business functions.
I would like the board's approval on the staff training, 1BUS, on the superintendent's recommendations for staff training reimbursements on the report dated January 19th, 2017.
So moved.
Second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. The items I'll be asking for approval next week. 2BUS is an acknowledgement of the receipt of the disbursement listings for various bank accounts. 3B, and that is for the month of December. 3BUS, the receipt of the security and fire drill reports for the month of December. 4BUS, approval of the $8,500 cost to Aquarius Capital for the actuarial consulting service that's required on an annual basis for post-employment benefits paid by the district. 5BUS, I'll be asking for the contract renewal with prevention specialists. Their charge is $250 for the calendar year 2017 for controlling the randomized testing that's required of our bus drivers. 6BUS, construction change orders for the roofing projects at Park Middle School and School 1. Park Middle School, we added some repointing near where they were doing the roofing work. School 1 needed some through-wall flashing installed because the flashing was not the type that they anticipated when they opened up a wall. And they had to enclose an area between a chimney and wall to waterproof it. So the total change orders were $25,932.50, leaving a remaining contingency of $46,328.50. 7BUS, I'll be asking for approval of the transfer of funds from capital reserve for various projects in an amount of $6,140,503.
8 BUS, I'll be asking for the transfer from maintenance reserve for various projects in the amount of $1,500,000. 9 BUS, I'll be asking for approval to move forward with purchase and installation of air conditioning at School 1. This is under the Ed Data contract, bid number 6883, which expires December 2017. The units on the school, they've been essentially duct taping pieces together in order to keep the unit at School 1 going on the modular units. These units were put in when the modulars were put in, and so they just need to be replaced. They're both heat and air conditioning for those units, and the cost is $19,156. 10 BUS is the approval of additional related services for some students that we have, and one is social worker and one is nursing services. 11 BUS is asking for the board's acceptance of the NFL Foundation grant in the amount of $2,000 to put, and it's a very limited grant. It can only be used for new football helmets, new football equipment, and/or field items. 12 BUS is the contract with Lincoln Technical Institute. We've done this previously. There is no cost to us. This is where we have some interns that are interested in having some on-the-job training come and work with our tech department. And 13 BUS is the board's acknowledgement of the receipt of the board secretary report, treasurer school fund report, and budget adjustments for December 2016. And 14 BUS will be the bill list for the period December 23rd through January 20th. And that's all I have.
Okay. Questions, comments on any of the items,
I have a
Mrs.
question.
Brody?
A 9 BUS, is that supposed to be 12/1/2017?
For 6 months.
Or it expires for the air conditioning, the bid?
Yes, they did an extension on the bid, and
Oh.
it expires 12/1/2017.
And can you just tell us how we got this NFL Foundation grant? Thought it was,
Apparently, and this is just what I've heard from our athletic director, it has something to do with, we had students who graduated from our school that played in the Super Bowl. And so we received a golden football, and also were eligible to apply for this grant. So
glad I asked.
we've had 2 students. One of them I know, the other one I don't remember the name of, so I don't want to.
Get it and publicize
Yeah.
it.
Well, one of the students I know is, because he graduated with my daughter, is Nate Jones. But the other one I don't know the name of, but we can get that.
Wow. That's neat.
Mm-hmm. Very interesting. Any other questions or comments?
I have a question.
Yes, Mrs. Winkler?
For 5 BUS, for Prevention Specialist, Inc.,
Yes.
at a cost of $250, plus lab costs.
Right.
Never mind. I take it back. I have no questions.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? I was curious how many interns we had with that partnership with,
We had a small break in interns, but I think overall we probably had about 10. And at one point, we actually hired one of the interns for a short period of time as a part-time person in our tech department. But those students get great experience, and we get free help.
yeah,
Free
it's
is
wonderful. And you get to look over potential people.
That's right.
Okay. Thank you very much, Mrs. Saradaki, and that brings us to board policies. Mrs. Winkler?
Yes. I'd like to, at the next meeting, I will move that the board approve second and final reading for adoption of the following board policies. P3159, teaching staff member / school district reporting responsibilities. P3231, outside employment as athletic coach. P4159, support staff member / school district reporting responsibilities. P5305, health services personnel. P5350, student suicide prevention. And R5350, student suicide. I'll remind you that these are changes predominantly in code citations and references to state agencies. Otherwise, the meat of the policies has not really changed.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions for Mrs. Winkler? All right, new board business? Seeing none, other board business, request to attend workshops or workshop reports? Okay, we'll want someone at the next meeting to read our resolution for Black History Month. And 3 OBB board committee assignments we'll approve at the next meeting. I did just want to mention that Dr. Kulikowski recommended that perhaps we should add an alternate to the Municipal Alliance Committee. Is that correct, Dr. Kulikowski?
Yes, it is. Thank you.
And I believe Stephanie Sirianni, you said you would be willing to do that?
I would be glad to do that.
Okay, so we'll make that one adjustment. Is there anything else that needs to be adjusted on the committees that anyone sees? Okay, we'll be approving the minutes for December at the next meeting as well. And now, in accordance with Scotch Plains Fanwood Public School Policy 0164 and 0165, there's an opportunity for anyone to come to the microphone. Seeing no one, what about the good of the order? Dr. Kulikowski.
We have Give Kids a Smile coming up again this year. Friday, February 3rd, from 9 to 4. We'll be offering free dental care to children up to and including age 14. I have given flyers that have been posted on various district school websites, as well as I just circulated another single page to Pat earlier today with the phone number on it, 908-889-2410, to call for a free appointment.
Wonderful. Thank you very much for spreading the word about that. Anything else for the good of the order?
I don't know if this is the forum, but I'd like to say that I attended McGinn's Global Family Night last night, and it was just a wonderful event where kids and families were encouraged to share their cultural traditions and their foods, and I just think it was great for the kids to develop tolerance and understand diversity in other cultures. So it was a wonderful, wonderful event.
Wonderful, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, so I do just want to call attention to everyone. I know it was sent out in our information, but that everybody has February 7th marked on their calendar for the board PTA coffee, and we usually exchange questions. So you might be thinking that there's something that we would like to ask the PTA, and you could let me know. Okay. In that case, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, we'll see you next week.